Okay, here we are back in Crystalline. I don't know how long the episodes are going to be this week, but we'll see how far we get. The next morning, we regroup downstairs at the inn as planned.
Is everyone now prepared to begin our journey?
We nod.
Then let us depart.
She leads the way out of the inn and back into the quiet city. Remnants of last night's festival litter the ground in a series of petals and general debris. The cleanup details hard at work. They wear thick gloves as they half-heartedly remove the decorations and debris. I wonder how long they've been working on this. I heard some of the festivities last night as I was trying to sleep. Must have ended sometime in the wee hours of the morning. We follow Amelia through the twists and turns of the city. Where exactly are we going now?
To the Crystal Rail Station.
Crystal Rail? Sounds like it might be a train. Leanna speaks up before I even ask.
Where are we taking the Crystal Rail to?
Bazada.
She looks up in surprise.
Embermyst is in Bazada?
They say you can find anything there.
She shoots Zack a look, which he returns with his usual stony gaze. What's so surprising about Bazada?
It's just closer than I expected.
No, Embermyst is not within Bazada, but Bazada is the closest station to the location of Embermyst.
Leanna still seems skeptical, but doesn't push it. I guess we'll find out whether or not Amelia is right. We continue the rest of the way in silence. After a few minutes, we arrive at the station. The setup is a simpler version of our train stations back home. The ticket booth is right across from the entrance. While they sort out retrieving tickets, I look around. Vendors selling food and trinkets line the perimeter of the enclosed space. The building is mostly empty at this time of morning.
We must hurry if we wish to catch the next crystal rail. It is nearing the platform.
Once we get our tickets, we rush down a back hallway, which opens up to the platform. Arriving onto the platform is a sleek bullet train, porcelain white with windows dotting the sides. My jaw drops as I watch it hover over the tracks. A pair of long crystal rows. Yeah, it's rows. A pair of long crystal rows run along the bottom of the train with identical crystal rows lining the back. I've seen better. I cross my arms. Obviously the crystals below have to do with keeping the train up, but otherwise I bet it's just like a normal train. Leanna glances back at me and fails to hide her giggle. What is it?
Nothing. It's just, you two are making the same face right now.
I glance over at Zack, who looks back at me. We both have our arms crossed and an unimpressed look on our faces. Zack nods at me, which I return. He gets it.
Hi.
The Pongo eyes the crystals on the train, his mouth open in anticipation. Leanna notices and snatches him up. So real quick, I have to point out, I don't know if this has actually been ongoing, but they do have a note on this. There's some problems with the character models, like, I don't know how it was recorded exactly, but Leanna really did skip poses right there. So that's something that the devs will probably finish before this leaves early access.
Hi.
He wriggles at first, but after she gives him a few pats on the head, he calms down and grins at her. We are about to board the train when the attendant stops us.
Sorry, Pongas are not allowed due to equipment which are sensitive to energy absorption.
Later.
Oh,
Leanna looks sadly at the blue guy in her arms.
I'm sorry, my friend, but I think this is where we say goodbye.
He blinks back at her in confusion, a worried smile on his face.
Hi?
Leanna's lip trembles.
I'm sorry.
She gives him a final hug and sets him down on the ground. Then with glassy eyes full of tears, she rushes into the train. The Pongo blinks.
Poi.
Amelia cocks her head to the side and looks at it. The Pongo mimics her.
Poi.
I have not known you long, but I will be saddened to see you go.
She nods and then hops onto the train. Zack looks at the Pongo and instinctively his hand protects his guns.
Try not to eat anyone else's weapon.
Poi.
The Pongo blinks at Zack's retreating form. Finally, it's my turn. Later. I'll admit, you're not so bad. I pat him on the head. Try not to get into too much trouble. He fixes me that same confused stare he gave the others.
Poi.
Bye. I follow the others onto the train. While other people board the train, I join the rest of my group. Leanna tries to control her sniffles while Amelia looks down at her feet. Zack acts as casual as always, but the nod he gives me feels lackluster. We're all feeling the loss of the Pongo. He was my first friend when I came to this world. After we've had a moment to compose ourselves, we search for our train cabin. We pass through a few cars before we finally find our cabin towards the end of the train. Amelia slides the door open, then shuts it immediately.
Impossible.
What's going on? She opens the door again, we all peer inside. Inside the cozy cabin are plush seats, a rack above the seats to hold any luggage, and a rectangular table in the center. There's also a pongo bouncing happily on the seats.
Boy, boy! Pongo!
Leanna squeals excitedly and scoops him back up into a hug. We all file into the cabin after her and shut the door before anyone notices the pongo. When Leanna notices her stare, she clears her throat and sits him back down.
But how did you get in here?
Seriously, weren't you just outside a second ago? How'd you get in here and find our cabin before we did?
Impossible.
I think the pongo broke Amelia. Zack, as unfazed as always, plops down into one of the seats and leans back.
Some things just can't be explained.
With how often the pongo seems to disappear and reappear unexpectedly, you'd think we'd be used to it by now. I take a seat as well, and the pongo hops into my lap. Leanna pouts as the pongo moves away from her. Amelia seems to have recomposed herself and also takes a seat. Not much later, I feel the jerk of the train departing and hear the calming hum of the engine. Both Leanna and Amelia stare out of the window. Zack has his head down and his arms crossed. I think he may be asleep, but it's hard to tell. Remembering how I found him at the campsite, I can only assume the guy can literally sleep anywhere. My eyes feel droopy too. Those revelers last night were so loud they kept waking me up every few hours. Needless to say, I am exhausted and could use a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. In the comforting silence, I drift to sleep. So I guess this is as good a time as any to put a break in the video, right? Just kidding. When I awaken, everyone else is awake too and looking more bored than ever. Only the pongo snoozes in my lap. How long was I asleep for? Leanna glances at me.
Just a few hours.
Are we almost there?
No. We will not arrive before tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeesh, what am I going to do with all the spare time? I automatically reach into my pocket to pull out my phone, forgetting for a second that it doesn't work. Shoot. But then my hand closes in on something equally good. I pull out my deck of cards and lay them out on the table. Leanna cranes her neck to see better.
What do you have there?
My cards. I cut the deck and shuffle them. Want to play something? There's enough people that we can play cheat.
How do you play that?
It's easy. Each round you'll put a card from your hand face down in the center of the table and say what it is. Like this. I put one down as an example. One king. Then everyone else at the table can decide whether or not I'm telling the truth. If you think I'm lying, you call out cheater, and I'll have to reveal the card. If I was lying, then I take all the cards in the pile. If I was telling the truth, then whoever accused me takes all the cards in the pile, and the next person starts a new round. You win by having no cards in your hand.
Sounds like fun. I'll play.
So I know that's an international thing, but in most high schools they call the game BS or bullshit. Hopefully you understand why. Amelia looks thoughtful.
Although I have not partaken in this game before, this sounds like it would be a stimulating challenge.
I glance at Zack. You in? He shakes his head.
I'll pass.
Leanna frowns.
Why not? I know that mercenaries love card games. And it's not like there's much else to do while we wait.
It's just not my type of game.
I'll spoil you guys. Let's up the stakes here. As a mercenary, I think I know what can spark his interest. What if we play for money? Zack sits up and looks at me.
I thought you didn't have money.
I do have money. I fish in my pocket and drop the loose change I have on the table. It's just not usable here. Amelia leans in close and peers at the money. Even Leanna takes an interested glance.
I fail to recognize this type of currency.
Well, I'm not exactly from Asaria. Amelia stares intently at me again. After a long pause, she looks back at the coins.
I see.
I point out the different types of change I have. Make sure you get the pennies. They're the most valuable.
Are these not made from copper?
Not anymore. Yes.
And the nickel would be made from nickel.
So real quick about the penny, in case you're wondering. It's been decades since those things were pure copper. I think nowadays they are just a copper shell around a zinc core. That's probably the best way to describe it. As for the nickel, I think those are actually still mostly nickel. I used to actually know this, but the penny's really the only one I made note of just because how cheap the government's getting. Also, yes.
Then suffice it as to say, should not the nickel be more valuable than the penny?
Damn, she got me. Zack leans back into his seat.
If it's not money I can use, then I'm not interested.
Zack,
I will pay you for his coins.
Zack sits back up.
Go on.
For any coin of his you receive, I will trade you one of our coins.
Amelia, you really don't have to do that.
I know.
Leanna looks uneasily between Zack and Amelia.
Alright. Deal.
As Zack settles in, I deal out the cards. Zack frowns when he looks at his hand.
These cards are strange.
Like I said, I'm not from Asaria. I give a brief rundown of the suits and the face cards. When I look up from my hand, I see Amelia staring at me. This is getting a little uncomfortable. Let's start the bet. We all throw our coins on the table. I'll go first. I drop a card face down on the table. 110. Silence. No one reacts. Okay, Leanna, it's your go.
Okay.
She slides a card onto the table, her face completely blank.
1, 2.
So, going back to this, the times that I knew of this game, you actually had to go in ascending order. You'd start with 2, then the next player has to play 3, and then 4, and so on. And if you knew how to count cards, it was fairly easy to play, and then once people found out you were counting cards, they would no longer play with you, which is why I haven't played this in many, many years. It's also why people don't play blackjack around me either. I bet she's telling the truth. Nobody calls her out either. Amelia's go. Her face even more stoic than Leanna's. Amelia places a card onto the table.
1 queen.
I don't think she's cheating. Again, neither does anyone else. Maybe they aren't quite understanding how to play. Although, I guess it is just the first round. Finally, it's Zack's go. In usual Zack fashion, he stoically slips a card down.
2 8s.
Cheater.
Whoa, she was fast. Without breaking from his poker face, he flips over the card to reveal different cards than 8s. Silently, he collects the pile. We count how many cards each person has in their hands, and whoever has the lowest so far collects the first round of bets. Should be a 3-way tie, though. Then we throw in our next round of bets. Okay, me again. Better stick with the truth. Maybe I should mess with them a little. I purposely let it slip on my face that I might be lying. 2 3s. Leanna calls me out.
Cheater!
I flip over my cards to reveal 2 3s.
You tricked me.
I grin as she grabs the cards. Leanna looks slightly worried at her hand, then smooths her face.
2 aces.
I bet she was faking her worry and is telling the truth. Better not risk it.
Cheater.
Leanna grins as she flips over 2 aces. Zack wordlessly collects the cards. Good thing I stayed silent. Amelia puts down her cards.
2 7s.
Her poker face is just too good. I can't tell if she's cheating or not, so I'm going to stay silent. Nobody else calls her out. Without delay, Zack lays down his cards.
2 5s.
Before anyone else has a chance to react, Amelia calls out.
Cheater.
Zack grumbles under his breath as he collects the pile. Amelia looks smug at Zack's disgruntledness. The bet for this round goes to the winner, and we start a new pot. So, Amelia and I should have the same number of cards at the moment, with Zack having the most, then Leanna. Back to me again. Going to stick with what I do best. Drain all emotion from my face, I place a card on the table. 1 king. Nobody calls me out. Leanna lays down her card, looking confident.
1 king.
That's the same card I put down last round. I bet she also has one. This feels like her waiting for someone to call out. Nobody calls out? They must think the same thing I do. Amelia wears the same stony face and slips down a card.
1 jack.
Again, I can't get a read on her, so I fall back on keeping quiet. Zack plays his card.
1-6.
Again, Amelia is faster than anyone else.
Cheater.
Zack growls in frustration.
How do you know every single time?
Amelia just stares at him with her same blank stare, which frustrates Zack even more.
This is the dumbest game ever.
He throws his cards down the table and knocks over the coins before crossing his arms. Leanna jumps away from the table and Zack hits it, her eyes wide. I'm a little taken aback and jolt back, which wakes the Pongo. Only Amelia remains unfazed.
Boy?
So, should we keep playing?
Of course.
Zack picks his cards back up. Leanna and I glance at each other and burst out laughing. At first, Amelia looks at us in bewilderment, but our laughter is so contagious that she breaks a smile.
Are we playing or what?
We resume the game with smiles all around. Thank God they're not playing Mario Kart, someone will get shot here. The longer we played, the more into the game everyone became. Needless to say, Amelia correctly guessed Zack's cheats every single time, much to Zack's ever-growing frustration. In the end, I won the game with the first to run out of cards. When we were tired to cheat, I taught them a couple of other games. It was late into the night when we all decided to turn in and go to sleep. The sun shines brightly through the window and splashes on my face, forcing me awake. Leanna and Amelia are both already awake, but Zack still has his head down as if he's still asleep. I look outside and squint at the sky. What time is it?
It's already past noon. We slept through the entire morning.
We did? Leanna giggles at my alarm.
Normally that would be a bad thing, but in this case it's okay. We're almost at Bazada.
I nod. Zack gradually wakes up and we all make sure we have all of our things. After another hour or two, the train stops and announces our arrival to Bazada. The sun hangs high in the sky as one by one we step off the train. As soon as I set foot in the city, I'm assaulted by the sound of voices. Makeshift stalls line the sides of the roads and alleys as people pack into the streets. Traders entice onlookers to view their wares and customers haggle in heated shouting matches. Are we going to have to travel through that? I blanch at the thought of getting trapped amidst the sea of people like sardines in a can.
We have arrived in Bazada.
This is where we'll find Embermyst?
No, as I said, it is the closest city to Embermyst.
Considering the bustle of this place, I find it a little hard to believe that the hidden city is so close. No wonder Leanna seems so surprised. Amelia seems to read my thoughts.
Of course, close is a relative term. We must first traverse some rough terrain and pass through the forest before we find Embermyst.
She points towards the south where I can make out the tips of treetops, and then she glances up at the sky.
Considering only a few hours remain before nightfall, it may be in our best interest to spend the evening here in the city and depart in the morning.
Leanna nods.
Good thinking. This marketplace is so huge. People say you can literally buy your heart's desires here.
Is there something you're thinking of buying?
Nothing in particular, but I would like to check out the stalls. Traders from all over the world gather here to sell their wares.
Hi!
I glance down at my feet and watch the Pongo wiggle excitedly. He casts hungry looks into the crowd. Is there a lot of magic here? I haven't seen this guy so excited since he first tried to eat me. Amelia bends down and scrutinizes him. She pokes him with a finger and the Pongo giggles.
Hi, boy!
I'm going to the inn. I'll meet up with you later.
Before any of us can react, Zack slips into the crowd. Should we go after him? Amelia doesn't even blink at Zack's departure. She's too preoccupied with the Pongo. Leanna shakes her head.
No, but since Zack left, I'm going to go too. Should we meet back up at the inn?
Sure. She nods and heads into the crowd. Since everyone else seems to know what they want to do, what do I want to do? Cold and alone. Perfect for this winter weather. I'm ready for a little bit of me time. I head into the crowds and appreciate all the marketplace has to offer. After exploring the city, I meet up with the rest of the group back at the inn. Well, that was extremely lame. Tensions are high as we eat in silence. I think everyone is a mixture of weariness and anxiety for the next leg of our journey. Even the Pongo is strangely silent and obedient. Once we finish eating, we head upstairs to find our rooms. Upon finding her room, Leanna suddenly perks up.
Oh, Amelia! You and I will be sharing a room tonight.
Good, I don't want to share a room with either of them. Amelia speaks dismissively.
Naturally. That would be more appropriate than the alternative.
Me getting in the room and everyone else sleeping outside. She pauses, then looks at Leanna with interest.
Are you insinuating that you would rather share a bedroom with them?
Amelia points to Zack and me.
What? No! Of course not!
Oh, my mistake. Of course you could not have met both of them. There aren't nearly enough beds. You must have meant Zack.
Yep, Zack
No
has that
way.
way.
Especially not after how he treated the poor little Pongo.
Pongo had it coming.
That poor little Pongo was eating my crystal.
Which is why I want to share a room with you, Amelia.
Amelia blinks.
If that is the case, then why even bring it up?
Because I'm excited. It'll be nice to have some girl time.
Amelia studies Leanna, then nods.
I concur. Sharing a room has proven to strengthen bonds amidst peers and foster camaraderie.
You mean make friends?
Precisely.
Lena grins and Amelia smiles back.
Hoi?
We all glance back down at the Pongo by our feet. Is it my imagination, or is he trying to ask us which room is he going to sleep in tonight? Amelia snatches him up in her arms.
The Pongo needs to spend the night with us tonight. We need him for science.
As Amelia slips into their bedroom, Leanna nods rapidly.
Yes, for science.
Okay, huzzah for vivisection. Then follows Amelia into the room and slams the door shut. There's a moment of silence as Zack and I stare at the closed door.
Is it just me, or did that seem unusually suspicious to you?
Well, compared to a lot of the women in my life, that's actually fairly normal. Definitely suspicious, but I'm not even sure why. I can't go back. I was hoping for something along the lines of what I just said, but I guess they don't give you that. Still baffled by what happened, Zack and I enter our room and get ready for bed. Although the train was more comfortable than I expected, it could not compare to a real bed. As I snuggle into the blankets, I soon drift into a restful slumber. I should also put out a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't know if you guys have actually heard it yet. For the next couple of weeks when I record this, you may hear some stuff in the background. On the north side from where I record, there is a house being re-shingled, so there are roofers that are actually actively working. Sometimes you can hear them yell. And then on the west side, there is a fence being put up, so we have another crew over there doing that. And it's a little quiet now, but they are going to be coming back from lunch anytime now, so yeah. Zack and I awaken at dawn and silently go about preparing for the day. As I grab a few items off my bed, I look over at Zack, who is fiddling with his gun. That guy sure gives his discharger a lot of attention. Morning. He glances up and nods.
I'm heading down. Meet me there when you're ready.
Sure. Zack shoulders his pack and leaves. This is probably the quietest morning I've had so far. It's a little strange. I pack up the last of my things and follow Zack downstairs, where I find him waiting alone. Where are Leanna and Amelia? He shrugs.
Still getting ready, I guess.
Okay. That's unusual. Leanna is generally the first one up. We wait a couple more minutes before the girls finally show up, carrying the Pongo with them. Amelia smiles widely at the Pongo, who grins back. Those two seem to be in a good mood. Leanna, on the other hand, looks exhausted. Gang's all here, let's go. Shall we get going? Zack nods.
We should move on so we don't lose any daylight.
Zack looks over at Amelia, who rummages through her bag. Eventually she pulls out a map. I glance at the carefully detailed mountains and rivers. Suddenly I'm missing my GPS.
We will proceed eastward, through the forest adjacent to Bazada. From there, we will travel northbound towards the Sonoa Mountains.
Her finger scrolls across the different locations.
Assuming there are no divergences in the course, we should arrive in Embermyst by midday. Any inquiries?
Amelia folds the map and glances at the rest of us. We all look at each other.
Then let us begin our journey.
She leads the way out of the inn and through the streets of Bazada. Even this early in the morning, the marketplace is still bustling with people. Carefully traversing the streets and alleys, the crowd begins to thin as we reach the city borders. Amelia consults her map, then continues out of the city. Without the high cover in the stalls, I blink at the clear blue sky. In the distance, I can see the dark leafy cover of trees. That must be where we're going. Once we reach the forest, I'm surprised by how much shade the leaves provide. The branches are strong and the leaves are thick, exposing pockets of sunshine. Amelia keeps the map on hand as there are no trails. Aside from a few other stragglers exploring the woods, I can hear the scurry of woodland animals. With so much cover and so few people, this would be the perfect opportunity for a bandit ambush. I look towards Zack and Leanna, who both seem unconcerned. I suppose it wouldn't make sense for bandits to hide out in a forest, which is mostly devoid of people. We aren't carrying any cargo either, so there's even less of a reason to attack us. The deeper we travel into the woods, the thicker the canopy of leaves become, nearly blocking out the sunlight. All the other people have long gone, and even the rustle of bushes have become quiet. The Pongo nestles even deeper into Amelia's arms. Leanna shivers and wraps her arms around herself in a hug. She's fine. I should mind my own business, it's probably nothing. The forest continues to block out even more light. Soon it becomes so dark we can barely see what's in front of us.
Are you sure we're going the right way?
Amelia pulls out a torch out of her bag in response. She touches her fingers to the tip of the torch and her bracelet glows. Then the torch erupts into flames.
Indeed, there is no need for alarm. The darkness merely indicates we're about to enter the Forest of Sorrows.
Forest of Sorrows?
I'm surprised by Leanna's outburst. Her face is deathly pale.
Do we have to go through here? There must be an alternate route.
Amelia shakes her head.
Embermyst can only be accessed through these woods.
Leanna groans.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
What's up with the Forest of Sorrows? I mean, it sounds spooky enough, but is it really that bad?
It is rumored that those who venture into the Forest of Sorrows never come out.
They never come out? She nods.
The reason people are unable to escape is because they hear the voices of the loved ones they have lost. They fruitlessly search for their loved ones, losing their way, chasing the wailing of the spectrals.
No! Amelia, stop! We can travel through this stupid place if we have to, but no more of this story stuff that isn't true and can't be true, so it's not true.
Although Leanna tries to put on a brave front, her voice grows shriller the longer she talks. Right. Amelia nods.
Then let us continue.
I turn to Zack. Do you think all that stuff about the Forest of Sorrows is possible?
It doesn't matter if I think it's possible, because it's the truth.
Zack! Stop!
As Leanna turns away, Zack cracks a fleeting smile before resuming his stony stare. The trees have now lost their cozy feel completely and look thick, old, and withered. The eerie silence is deafening, and each crunch of leaves beneath our feet reminds me of the inevitability of death and decay. I keep seeing flashes of beady eyes peering among the branches. The squawk of crows pierces the silence, making me jump. Instinctively, I pick up the pace, as does everyone else. Leanna grows increasingly agitated.
Are you sure we're going the right way? I swear that I've seen that.
A cold gust of wind extinguishes the torch. Whoa! It's too dark to see what's happening.
Unhand me, Leanna.
What happened to the light? You're a fire mage, aren't you? Cast an illumination spell already.
That is my intention, but such a task is impossible when you have my arm in a death grip.
After a bit of shuffling, a small flame ignites from Amelia's fingertip, which she transfers to the torch. Leanna sighs in relief and mutters under her breath.
I really don't like this place.
Zack waits impatiently a few paces ahead of us.
Can we move on?
Affirmative.
We all hurry to catch up with Zack and continue through the forest. No wonder people get lost. This place feels like it's endless. Gradually, the darkness fades away as the trees are illuminated by an ethereal glow. As the blue and green light chases away the shadows, my mood begins to lift. The trees still look ancient, but full of wisdom and secrets instead of bad omens. The Pongo squirms wildly in Amelia's arm. He wriggles free and hops around in glee. As he hops, he opens his mouth wide, but loses his balance and blinks as he falls on his head. After a few more confused seconds, he shakes himself and tries again. There must be a lot of magic in here.
We have made it through the Forest of Sorrows.
Leanna sighs in relief.
Finally.
So Embermyst is close.
A natural concentration of crystal energy would indicate we are on the correct path.
Ah, the crystals must be what the blue and green glows from.
What do you mean, on the correct path? Haven't you traveled here before?
Amelia shakes her head.
No, this is my first journey.
You mean you had us travel through the Forest of Sorrows without knowing for sure that it would lead us to Embermyst?
That is correct.
Leanna gapes at Amelia.
Well, we did make it through. And if we do reach Embermyst, then she would have delivered on her promise.
Zack nods at Amelia, who curiously looks at him. While deep in thought, it looks like she's reworking a previous analysis of him. Then she nods back. Leanna opens her mouth to argue, but stops.
I suppose it doesn't matter now that we're almost there.
On that conclusion, let us continue.
We trail behind Amelia, the Pongo blissfully hopping along as she navigates us out of the rest of the forest. Embermyst lies just beyond the edge of the forest, and soon we approach the heavy gates of the city. Two tanned men with leather armor and carved wood staves inlaid with rough crystals stand guard. Their staves are crossed and the light seems to shimmer as it catches the negative space between the staves. Is that some kind of magic?
Please state your business.
As students from the Mage Academy, we seek an audience with Elder Isim.
They look us over and I shift uncomfortably under their gaze. Their blank eyes seem to burrow deep into my soul. They close their eyes and the red crystals inlaid in their staves glow. The translucent glimmers increase. After a few minutes, they reopen their eyes to remain silent. I glance at Leanna, who looks back at me. I whisper, "Are they going to let us in?" She shakes her head uncertainly. Zack crosses his arms, but otherwise doesn't seem bothered by the situation. Amelia stands confidently and waits patiently. I guess things are going according to her plan. Just when I can no longer bear the silence, a figure steps out from behind the gates. He's an old squirrely man with a set of glasses which slip down his hooked nose. He wears a faded and wrinkled open robe.
Elder Isim.
Yes? Who is it?
I am Amelia Estelle from the Mage Academy, and these are my associates.
The Mage Academy, you say?
He adjusts the glasses on his nose and peers at Amelia.
Yes.
One by one, he peers at the rest of us. He barely glances at Zack, but looks at Leanna with interest when he recognizes her guild emblem. Finally, his gaze lingers on me, almost as if he's trying to place me, but can't.
Well, come on in then. No point in standing around.
The guards break away as he beckons us in, and the translucent shimmer disappear. After we pass through the gates, I look back right before the gates close, and see the guards resume their original position. Elder Isim shuffles along the dirt path and leads us through the quaint village. The villagers tend to wear plain clothes, loose-fitting tunics. Aside from the guards, most people don't carry weapons, although many of them do wear simple bracelets embedded with crystals. We soon arrive at a strangely architecturally stable clay hut. As we enter, I covertly touch the walls. It reminds me of unglazed ceramic tile. We settle down on wide cushions on the floor.
How were you able to find this place?
Through you.
Eh?
Amelia pulls out a worn tome. Where's she been keeping that this whole time?
My old research. I thought I'd lost this.
As Elder Isim carefully turns the pages of the tome, Leanna clears her throat.
We were told you can help us.
By whom?
Professor Xavier.
Elder Isim lets out a loud laugh.
Xavier is a professor now. Good for him. I've been out of touch with Haven God and Lumia for many years. I'm not sure how I can help.
Leanna fills him in on all that's happened so far, beginning with the spiked energy readings and ending with Professor Xavier's advice. She keeps the story simple and straight to the point, carefully eliminating the fact that I am not from this world. Elder Isim listens thoughtfully, but grows more excited the longer Leanna talks.
The temporal rifts. It's been so long since I really researched them. I'm afraid I've been rather distracted. Still, someone is here hoping to discuss these theories, and I'm more than happy to talk about them.
He claps his hands excitedly.
Where should we start?
As I'm about to answer, a deep rumble beneath the earth stops me. What was that?
Oh, just the volcano. Nothing to worry about.
Great. That's what they said about Pompeii. Last time someone said nothing to worry about in regards to a volcano, their entire city was buried in ash. Leanna's eyes are wide and aghast. It's not all bad. It was basically all intact when the city was rediscovered thousands of years later. She doesn't look any less uneasy.
There's no need to look so concerned. The volcano will not erupt. This is the first sign of activity it has shown in thousands of years.
Pretty sure they said the same thing about Pompeii. Isn't that concerning?
Perhaps if it were any other volcano, but this particular volcano is in the domain of the fire elemental who protects us all.
I wouldn't be surprised if they said that about Pompeii too.
This fire elemental of which you speak, are you referencing the ancients?
Although to be more precise, Pompeii is the city, Vesuvius was the volcano.
Precisely.
Zack crosses his arms.
The ancients are only a story.
Who are the ancients?
They are the elements of Asaria. The magic which we have learned to manipulate are the gifts left behind from the ancients.
That's how the legend goes.
You are mistaken. They are not a legend.
Leanna looks uncertain while Zack scowls.
You still believe in those stories?
I believe in the research. An Elder Ism has accumulated plenty of it.
Then where have the elementals been all this time?
We all return our focus to the Elder.
I suppose I do have a few theories on that as well. But the elements are a lot trickier than temporal rifts. The story of the ancients is so old it predates our understanding of crystals and spheres. That's why most societies have forgotten about them and brushed them off as a legend. The people in this village, though, have not forgotten. When I arrived, I was purely focused on finding the fire temple for research purposes. But the longer I stayed, the more my focus strayed from the temporal rifts to the ancients themselves. If you believe that the cause of those random energy spikes are the result of temporal rifts, perhaps that is the link to the return of the elementals to Asaria.
So what does that mean exactly? He shakes his head.
It's hard to say. We don't know why they left in the first place. My guess is that something was keeping them occupied in the spirit world. Perhaps whatever that is was set free by the rifts.
Amelia hangs on to Elder Isim's every word. Leanna absentmindedly fiddles with her manipulator deep in thought. Only Zack seems skeptical of this conversation. This sounds really complicated, not something that can be solved in a few hours. We need to get them back on track. How do I get home? To get back to the original topic on hand, Elder Isim nods.
The temporal rifts, yes.
How would one go about creating a rift?
Well, that will be difficult. You'll need an incredible amount of energy. More than any one human can create. The only places with that much concentration of energy is in the temples of the elementals.
You said that there was one in the village.
Yes, the fire temple is here in Embermyst.
Great. My body grows warm as hope floods through my veins. This is good. I finally have a way home.
To be more precise, it's on the outskirts of the village, built on the side of the volcano, but it's not a far walk.
Then that's where we need to go.
Leanna pushes herself to her feet and the rest of us do the same. As Elder Isim rises, his face falls.
Leaving so soon? I was hoping we'd have a longer chance to chat. I have so many questions about Amelia and the Academy. As you can imagine, one does not get a lot of news of the outside world here.
Perhaps upon our return.
Yes, of course. Well, you best be on your way then.
Elder Isam, it was truly an honor to meet you.
Amelia's cheeks flush as Elder Isim grins. She must really respect him. In that moment, I realize just how small and dainty she looks. I sometimes forget how young she is compared to the rest of us. We all say our goodbyes and then exit the hut.